know what it is. I'm Parlay Hunter, and that's
Life with D Green.
Life with D Green in the house. And today we got a very special guest. He is an entrepreneur, an actor, a writer, a director, producer, and stand-up comedian. He's acted and worked with multiple Academy Award-winning actors, filmmakers, producers, and Fortune 500 leaders. Today we got Michael Stein in the house. Let's give it up for Michael.
Pleasure to meet you. Thank you.
Yeah, Michael. First things first, we'll get right into it. I just want to talk to you. I know that you do a podcast, a very successful podcast. You talk about underdog stories, people coming up from, having to make it back from being pushed down, to trying to have that comeback so it's bigger than the setback. And we're inspired by stories like that. So we want to talk to you about your podcast, a little bit about your story, about if you have any, comebacks that major comebacks that you came back to through in life and whatnot. So first thing, I'll let you introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay. So I do a podcast called Long Shot Leaders. I consider myself a long shot, come from a long line of long shots. My grandmother escaped the Russian concentration camps on her way to America. My dad was a New York homeless street kid, became a multimillionaire only to be homeless again. I was born premature, health issues, ADHD, which I didn't know what it was back then, all kinds of problems. And never had any success other than making people laugh at a young age. And then I saw the movie Rocky, like most American kids. And I said, hey, here's a guy like me. He's not smart. He keeps on failing, but he keeps on getting back up. I said, the only difference between this guy and myself is he's physically fit, which I was a basket case. So I was like, I'm going to work out every day. So from the age of like 12 to the time I was 16, I became a physical fitness trainer when I was in high school. I was like, oh man, time plus effort equals success. So I told my high school tutor, I said, she goes, what do you want to do when you graduate? I said, I want to be an entrepreneur, a stand-up comedian, and an actor. And she goes, you might want to be a gardener or something, because not everybody's meant to do what they want to do, work with your hands or something. I said, screw you. My dad never finished 8th grade and he was homeless and he became a multimillionaire. Granted, he's living in a van outside of our old house, but he still did it. So I said, all right. So I started a business the day after high school, failed miserably. Went back to, took acting classes in, City College, never went to college. But then 6 months later, I did stand-up comedy. I was 19, did stand-up comedy for the first time, and I brought a lot of people there. And in LA, you could make a lot of money as a nightclub promoter. And I said, I could do nightclubs. I could bring people here, dance clubs. And I became, within 6 months, I tried that. And within 6 months, I became the #1 nightclub promoter in my age bracket in LA. And from there, it got me a lot of stuff. I met a lot of people. I got to be, I met a lot of people in film industry. My first role was playing Dirt Diggler in the Dirt Diggler Story, which is a short film, to Boogie Nights, which I appear in as well. And that got me into making films. And so I decided I'm going to leave my nightclub business. I'm going to become a filmmaker, like my friend Paul Thomas Anderson. I was like, he did it. I could do it. And I did well. I got an award-winning short film, got close to a movie deal in Hollywood, meetings with everybody, but no movie deal. So I said, screw it. After a year and a half, I'm going to make my own movie. And only problem was I was broken in debt. So I decided to start a business, tarchplus.com. And within 6 months, I had $500,000 to make my first movie, which is called Love Hollywood Style. 2-time Academy Award winner Faye Dunaway, Andy Dick, Coolio, many other actors you've seen. Wrote, directed, produced, and acted in that, but it didn't make a lot of money. So since then, I've grown this business, which has made well over $100 million. And the reason why I do a podcast called Long Shot Leaders, I ever said, if I'm going to do a podcast, because there were so many failures along the way, I said it would be about somebody that was less likely to succeed, but did succeed. And that is the quick and down dirty version of who and what I do.
Wow. So my first question, and then I'll let Dre ask the next. I want to ask you, how do you keep the mindset of dog, like after you have the this pushed me down, now I got to get back on the track, back on the race. Once you're back in there, once your mindset is back good, how do you hold on to that good mindset? How do you stay focused and hungry?
I think it was learning to fail so much in the beginning, because I was weaned on failure. I was just inherently had a lot of failures at a young age. So when I got a whiff of a little bit of winning, as I got older, I started working out. Oh, time plus effort. Then I failed, and then I succeeded. Time plus effort. So the mindset was, 1, it's just a matter of building that muscle. 2, I see so many failures, so much adversity around me. My dad lost all his money, but my mom stayed in the house in Encino, California, which is a wealthy neighborhood. So we're like a poor family lived in a rich neighborhood, like the Encino Jubilees. So I had to sleep in the same room with my grandmother until I was like 9 years old, and hearing that story about escaping the concentration camps. So I was like, shit, I'm lucky. I mean, no matter what bad, I don't have to go to concentration camp. I'm not homeless like my dad was as a street kid. He was put in an orphanage when he was 8, started working when he was 8, dropped out of school when he was 8, in 8th grade. He got dropped out of school if he was sticking up for an African-American kid in class, because the teacher was picking on him. And then they locked him in a closet, and then he ate everybody's lunch. So then, civil rights only go so far. So when you're hungry, all bets are off. So he got kicked out of school. So then he just started working. And when he was 13, he started selling nylon stockings after World War II. And I was like, man, my mindset is I got the wind in my back compared to these dudes. So that's how I always look at it.
That is so crazy, Mike, that you speak on that. I don't want to jump into kind of what Hunter was saying, because I would want to piggyback, but I want to say, and I can hear it out of you, and I can tell as an entrepreneur, is it first of all, is it cool if I call you a serial entrepreneur? Because that's kind of the vibes I get, man. I feel like you're like me, a visionary. You got a lot of plans going on. I'm a Gemini, so a Gemini, we go. We have this idea, we have that one, but we can't set on each one. But my thing, and what I've been saying on our podcast lately, is confidence. And can you speak about that from when you started your journey as an entrepreneur to now? What is confidence to you, and why is that so much more important? Because I think a lot of people in today's society, whether they're entrepreneur, whether they're starting a business, whatever they're doing, whatever their niche is, they don't understand. More of the value to me is having the confidence to step in any room knowing I can close the deal, rather than having the capital, rather than knowing who I know, et cetera. Can you speak about confidence?
Yes, indeed. So confidence is just a muscle. I've done everything that Tony Robbins has ever won. I've been to Fiji, where his resort is. And basically, it's a muscle. A company with, a lot of the exercises, and I call them exercises, what he does. One of my first acting teachers, Eric Morris, who actually can be featured in Stallone's Arnold documentary right now. It's Arnold's acting teacher. He has an exercise called the Superman exercise. So when you have to go on stage and you have to perform, whether it's stand-up comedy or acting, whatever, you start thinking about that imposter syndrome. So anybody could do this, and this is just a muscle. So basically you ask yourself, you start asking empowering questions, and you start to do an inventory of you as a superhuman. You start to do an inventory of all the great things you've ever done. And even if you say, well, what happens if you're only 13 and you're trying to do something? Well, you could say, I'm only 13 and I'm trying to do this thing. Mm-hmm. So much. So you build a crescendo into a momentous exercise of facilitating your inventory. Because we do that irreverently. We do that unconsciously. Our subconscious does that for us to survive. So now if you could facilitate that into an exercise. So to me, confidence is just a mindset. It's a pattern that's been created. We're all tribal and infantile when you're younger and you don't have that confidence muscle built up. You're just trying to survive. But then if you learn and fast track and start to exercise that every day, whenever you got to walk into something and say, let me do an inventory. This is what I've done. I've done this. And then by the time you go in there, you're feeling damn good. It's a healthy sense of confidence and ego that you can go in there and make it happen. So I think it's a muscle.
Yeah.
So I was curious, you do a lot of different things in the world of entertainment. How does your mindset change from being a director to being a comedian? Do you take the approach that you take to creating, is it different than the approach maybe you take to just the acting? And then are there people who inspire you, who bring maybe that you have met or that you haven't met, but also people that you have met that bring the most out of you?
Yeah, great. Okay, so first thing is that the sub-personalities, how do you handle whether you're a director or you're a writer or you're an actor or you're doing stand-up or you're an entrepreneur, all those are sub-personalities. You have sub-personalities, everybody's got sub-personalities. I act this way when I'm with my parents, I act that way with my friends and wife, different, everybody's different. So there's nothing wrong with that. It's not placating. Basically, we all, yeah.
I like to say, don't shit where you eat. So I kind of bring a different approach in different realms of my life.
Yeah, and I can piggyback that. So basically, when I was an entrepreneur, the lines of me being an entertainer, a stand-up comedian, actor, filmmaker with my employees, they're like, they don't care about this shit. They just want a place to work. They want a confidant. They want a warrior that's going to work with them on the business. Don't be that guy. And, sometimes, blurring the lines between, humor, which you don't always have to be on, especially if you want to be more than one thing. When you're in stand-up comedy mode, premise, punchline, that's where I'm trying to live. But you don't spread that, over into where you work, because I'm Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. When I go walk into my office and my place of business where all my employees are, I'm not giving them that guy, because they want a teammate. They don't want some joker, Now, totally different personality when I got to get on stage and I got to interact and I got to riff and, and do all that. That's a different person, same things with anybody else. So, I compartmentalize those things pretty well and concentrate on the role that I'm playing wherever I'm at.
Mm-hmm. And do great actors bring something out of you, or do you stay in your own mindset throughout the whole way?
It's like playing tennis, right? So there's nothing better than being like when you're, like for example, when I was, that film Love Hollywood Style had a lot of actors. There was a lot of different scenes, got to play tennis with Faye Dunaway. I was the one that acted with her. I acted in my own film with a 2-time Academy Award winner. So there was other actors where, their skill set wasn't as good as hers or some of the other great actors that were in that film that were journeymen, like, character actors. But it's like playing tennis. If, somebody knows how to play, then you get this rhythm going back and forth and you're like, oh man, as long as acting's 95% preparation. So I was prepared. Many things in success are 95% is preparation. But when a good actor knows that, and they'll have to be prepared. So when you're playing tennis with that person, ping pong, you're like, oh, this is good. You're in that state. As to where somebody doesn't know that, you don't get in that rhythm, so it's not as good. So you got to so it does help, but you can get it. If you're strong in mind and seasoned and in shape, you'll be able to get in that zone.
Yeah. Before Dre asks his next question, we will quote that 99% of success is preparation. I love that quote. That was a great gem that you just dropped.
Right.
I need my money button for the ching around here, but I really appreciate that quote. That's a really good.
It's nice. That's Eric Morris, once again, the acting teacher that was featured in the Arnold documentary. Eric Morris, he says that in his book, so I can't steal that. But I've been going in since I was like 20. 95% of success in acting is preparation.
That's awesome.
So that follows right into my two-part question. Number one is, what is your routine? Because I'm big on routine. Hunter knows that. I'm big guy on routine. I come from a non-militant father, wasn't in the military. My older brother was, but very structured. So what does that routine look like every day, as far as meditation, working out, eating right, sleep, balance of life? And then two, can you share a war story? What's your biggest war story that you've had in the business overall, entrepreneur, acting, or such?
Okay. Great questions. I could see that you got a routine. What is that? What is it? A juicer behind you or something? What is that?
Yeah, this is our air fryer. Me and my girlfriend, I'm at our house. So this is our air fryer in the back. So yeah.
Okay. So you can make nice, healthy food with that. So my routine is I'm big on, I learned that, a lot of these people, successful people, I try to have a set routine. I try to, wake up at a certain, time every day. I work out every single day. It doesn't have to be crazy workouts, but I do work out every single day. I write every single day. And I try to get into a rhythm. So I'll work, in the beginning of the day. And then at the end of the day, I do work out at the end of the day, every single day. During lunchtime, that's when I do my writing, because I have to make it work, for business, take care of business first, and then I'll do some writing. And then, you got to, after I just started doing this because I just started doing stand-up comedy again, a few months back. So I have sounds kind of pretentious, but I have a saloon on my property. Yeah. And a stage and everything. So I go up on stage and I do about, 15 to 20 minutes of rehearsing. And then I, take a shower and have some, time with my lady, and then that's kind of like, weekends, the routine changes a little bit, but always the main thing is always try to train every day, learn something every day. Got to take care of business every single day. And it's fun. It's all fun. And so I try to eat well every day. The older you get, I try to make sure you clamp up on I improve my diet as I get older. So those are my routines. Yeah, if I don't beat myself up if I can't do, if I miss something, because that, I used to do that. But a rhythm and a routine. I do stay up late sometimes, but try to, everybody, because I've talked to longevity experts on the podcast, try to go to sleep at 10:30. Even if you have awkward hours, something about that time, they say there's rhythmically, within reason, it's not an art form, but so anyways, those are my routine. And there was a second part of your question.
A war story. What's the biggest war story you probably had?
All right. There's two good ones. Okay. So when I first started my business, I was 1 month in and I was getting trickling like little sales. I was a production assistant because I went from a nightclub promoter, like a mini celebrity, for 4.5 years of being a production assistant to learn filmmaking, working on all productions. So I'm just now able to maybe live a little bit on the money this tarpsplus.com is starting to make me. So then I got a call from a company in New York. I'm in Sherman Oaks, California at the time. I get a call and he says, I need $17,500 worth of tarps on Monday morning. It's Friday at late afternoon. I said, no problem. We'll get them for you. All the trucking companies wanted like $17,500 to deliver it. I was like, screw that. Got a production truck that company that we used to use for film production. Picked up my friend, a PA that was working on a commercial, picked him up, and then we just tag teamed this truck full of tarps to deliver it to New York within 72 hours from Sherman Oaks to New York. And then we took a train back. And if you've ever been on a train, we were sleeping in chairs, but we tried to sneak into a sleeper car, and then we got busted, and they wanted to kick us off the train. So I had to like give them 60 or 70 bucks, whatever was cash in my pocket. But that was the first, I cried because I had money for Christmas. I cried because I was like, oh man, this is like a lot of money. Cause I haven't had money like that since my nightclub days.
Yeah.
4 years of being a peon and paycheck to paycheck and getting beat down by Hollywood would really do the number on you. 2 years later, I thought, damn, I don't know if I'm ever going to get a big sale like that. And eventually you do. 2 years later, I get my first warehouse, got some expenditure because I was working out of my house with my business. And I got a little warehouse, and I got a call from state of Florida after there was a hurricane. They said, we need $1 million worth of tarps, and you got to let us know right now if you got it. I said, no problem. We're the largest tarp supplier in the country. We weren't. And I knew I was going to get them for him. So within, a few hours, I called everybody in the country, all my connections as far as other tarp suppliers, bought up all their inventory, got the order, and I got locked and loaded with that deal. And I thought, there's no way it's going to get bigger than this. Next year, Katrina came around, and there was like, there was a rumor going around that my name, because the year prior in the industry, was Hurricane Mike. And I was like, oh shit, I'm a big Mike Tyson fan. I was like, first of all, I thought that was stupid. Because I still wanted to be a filmmaker and an actor. And I was like, Happy Gilmore, can't we put like a film guy on this, like all these accolades I'm getting for tarp business? I want to be like, he was putting the golf guy on the hockey guy in the golf.
Yeah.
But after a while, I realized that when I was a kid, my dad, he made millions selling calculators, and they called him the calculator kid because he had his own business. He had a mail order business that hit like huge, and they called him the calculator kid. I said, I want to be the calculator kid. So in a way, I became Hurricane Mike. So then I got all these big orders from, Katrina. And ever since then, the business has grown. And you always want more. I'll just end it on this. It's a Me Too company. It means that I just sell a product that everybody else has. But for the past 2 years and launching in February of 2024, I have a branded, patented, whole family of products and new company that we're forming called Bullator, which is we have the Bullator podcast. I just flashed the logo to you, is going to be launching next year, and that'll be something that is even dwarf anything we've done. Hopefully, it'll be like the next Yeti, because it's a backpack that it's a soft cooler. It's a backpack and turns into a tarp that's also a hammock that has a drain to it. Got a whole bunch of line of products that are around this company. And that's when I think about all these war stories that you tell me about.
Yeah,
I know there's going to be more failures and successes with the launch of that company, but I know that it's going to be big because I got the algorithm down, and that's what I think about when I think of war stories.
Yeah, we don't mind, some shameless plugs, get a couple of those products here on Bro Media Group. So yeah, we enjoy that, man.
Saw what I did there, right?
Yeah.
Indeed. Then you talk about getting a rap name, Hurricane Mike. That just rings in my head a little bit, man. Sounds like a good stage name, man.
Yeah, no, if you see my movie Love Hollywood Style, there's 4 intertwining stories about dysfunctional love in Hollywood, which I know is an oxymoron. But I have there's a character in it. One of the character out of the 4 stories, his name is Montel Meshuggah, and he's a Black, white, African American, Jewish. He's a cultural phenomenon. He was a symbol of civil rights in the 60s until he became a rap artist. And he was famous for that. And there's a whole rap that there's like 4 big rap songs in the film. And of course I'm rapping. I'm not Montel, my friend, an actor, he played Montel, but I did the raps over his thing, and I wrote all that. And so I already got the rap part down. I got that down.
That's dope. That is very dope. So last question before we end it, I just want to ask you, doing your own podcast, what have you gotten out of that? Talking to other people, and what has it brought out of you?
Oh man, it's like Invasions of the Body Snatchers, because as you guys know, you get to interview all these people. It's great. Every day I get to like pick somebody's brain. I'm doing a lot of talking today, but I don't have to do any talking when I just get to ask questions and find out, how did this happen? How'd you do that? I asked how Toyota asked 5 whys? You know about this? They asked 5 whys. It's called the Toyota 5 whys. Why is that? I had to examine, make a better car, and like, well, why is that? Well, why is that? I get to ask the who, what, where, why, when, and how, and 5 why, 5 times on these people of how they gone from 0 to 60. And it's just like amazing. And even if I don't retain everything, as you guys know, you walk away with the subconscious of consciousness of, damn, I got to think that some of that stuff is rubbed off even subconsciously, if I'm not aware of it consciously, talking to all these people. So I think it's changed so much. I think it's fast tracked my life in many ways. And I was already doing decently, I would say decent, when I started it, but now I think it's really improved because it fast tracks your learning process big time.
Yeah, I want to just say something on that. I feel like that's super kinetic, just because like I tell Hunter this when we're interviewing people, that it's like when you're able to take something from the interview, and it's like, for us, we want to interview everybody that's, like you said, long shots that are nobodies to this world. Just, even for you to have a platform before this, it's like, you never know where you meet people at the stage of their life. And then when you look back on it, you're like, damn, well, now look at this person 10, 15 years later. And we're on that same path of like, we never want to do this. We set out this business and to be a media group a long time ago when we had these ideas when we were in high school. Now we've been best friends for 15 plus years. And now it's like, we never cared about the money. It just was always about the enjoyment of what we do. And so to change people's lives, and like you said, to hear their stories, for me, it's always like just big motivator guy, and just like, damn, I ain't got it as bad. But then too, damn, when we hear somebody like you, it's like, all right, now I'm going to take this game and run with it and see where we can go with this. And so definitely inspiring to me.
That's right. And what you guys are doing, it's like, you got to think like, time plus effort. I keep on saying time plus effort will equal a probable success. And talking to all these people, sometimes you say, what, did I remember what they said? It's like, everybody, I bet every podcaster, and I'm sure you guys are including that, ask yourself, do I remember everything they said? And sometimes you don't, but you know what? Your subconscious records it. So the more people you talk to, the more you do it, I think it helps your consciousness level. I think it helps your level of being a better human being, because you're going through the algorithm. You're already a good person. If you want to, you have the time to not be selfish and listen to other people. And, you already have a good sense about you, but then also you really have to learn how to be a better person by listening to successful people. So I think man, I don't think I'll ever stop doing this. I think if I'm old fart, and I'm like, like on my old age, I think I'm like, I got to do at least 1 episode a week, and just stick to it because it's still advantageous for life.
Yeah, definitely that Morgan and Freeman experience,
That's right. Right. I got to learn how to die and flatline. I know I'm going to die soon. Well, talk to people that have done that. I like, getting close to that,
Yeah.
You switch long shot leaders will be like just long shots, long and shot overshot, just like, where did this go? But just start like talking. Oh, you ever do that? It's like, you ever pick somebody on your show? You're like, I don't know if this fixed the format, but I really want to learn about this, so I'm going to book them. Ever do that?
Yeah. Yeah,
Oh,
we
yeah.
had a couple. We have had a couple before for sure.
Yeah. And sometimes you go in without any like pre-assumption of what's gonna happen and you get a ton out of it. You feel so good after you spent that time doing it. You're like, I wasn't expecting this, but I got so much out of it. It was definitely worthwhile to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's different than listening to a podcast because you're actively involved. When you're actively involved in something, now your physiology is behind it, and your nervous system, you're entroped more. It really, the retention level is way, way different.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man, so much free game from Michael Stein. I'm so happy that you came by. We got to talk to you today. Man, I really appreciate it. And if you want to plug anything after, before we sign off, definitely go ahead. But I just want to say I appreciate it. And, thank you.
Real quick, off the record question. You said you're in LA, Mike, right?
I was born and raised in LA.
Okay.
Grew up in Encino, but now I live in Georgetown, Texas, which is just north of Austin.
Okay. I just was out in Houston last week for my birthday. We're big sports fanatics too. We got a sports podcast. So I just wanted to get a quick take of any fan, what type of fan you are. Football, basketball, hockey, baseball.
I love these questions. I first, when I was a kid, see, my dad was a street kid, so he was like into boxing. So I inherently, I grew up around boxing. I love boxing. Then my stepdad came around, this crusty old bastard smoking a cigarette behind me. He was a sergeant in the Marine Corps, opposite of my dad. He watched football and he was a Rams fan. And I was like, dude, fucking Rams are sucked. And I can't watch those guys. They're always getting penalties. And so then I was like a Dallas Cowboys fan for like 2 months. I'm like, nah, they suck. And then like on Monday Night Football, Howard Cosell, that's old as a kid. Howard Cosell, he's talking about how like the Dolphins are the least penalized team in the NFL. And I was like, and I like their colors and everything. I was like, so ever since that, and they lost against the Oilers, but they gained a fan. I've been a Dolphins fan ever since then. And I love the Dodgers. That's like, I love the Lakers, being from LA. When you're, the Dodgers are like your mom and the LA Lakers are like your girlfriend.
Yeah.
It's just like a thing. You go to a Dodger game, it's like you're going home for Thanksgiving. You go to a Laker game, you're going out Saturday night with your girl.
Oh yeah.
That's awesome.
So I love those teams. Not a hockey fan. I just, I'm typical American. I don't get the synergy.
Yeah.
And I like MMA, but boxing, I would have to say, not boxing now, but like I got to meet Mike Tyson twice. And that was like, I just identified with him a lot because, I was raised by a grandmother. He was raised by Gus, and he was an older person. And my dad was off and on throughout. I never done that well. So I don't know. And Tyson looked like a bodybuilder and I was into body, when I first, and so I'd say boxing is my number, but not boxing now, like Mike Tyson, boxing. And Muhammad Ali is a huge favorite of mine. Before Tyson came around, I was like, Ali was my guy, but then Tyson, I just identified because we're 6 months apart in age. And so I'd say boxing.
For sure. Appreciate that.
Yeah, I think we all feel like wish that we had a little Mike Tyson in us at times. Like we kind of feel like, that guy at one time, maybe the most dangerous man on the planet ever, period. Just stone cold killer.
Without
on each fist. I think Mike Tyson at his prime, yeah, he could probably beat anybody.
So remember when Mike was knocking people out in parking lots?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So this is just before that. He won the title from Trevor Burbick. This is in like 1980.
This is early.
Or 88. Yeah, he won it in 86. I think I saw him in 87. So I was like 20 years old. I'm promoting my club. I'm at somebody else's club. And I see Mike talking to a friend in the corner. And I go up to him and say, yo, off the wall on a Wednesday night. He looks at it, he goes, oh, I'm sorry, man. I'll be in the Bahamas. And it was just us in the corner. I was like, can I ask you a question? Are you Mike Tyson? Because I knew he was, but I didn't want to be presumptive, He goes, yeah. I was like, Mike, I got all, because I recorded his first, like, before he was champ, my dad and I record on VHS, we record fights. So I said, Mike, I got all, and I did. I said, I got all your fights on tape. You're my most favorite champion. That time, Ali, he took the band from Ali. I just clicked with him. And he's like, oh, thanks a lot, man. And he picks me up. I'm 5'6". And I was a little buff guy and I had a ponytail, but he picks me up and like almost like lifting on the ground. Like we're talking like, oh my God, it's so strong. And then he starts walking away. You like talk to a celebrity, you want to be friends with them more, he's trying to think of something. My ex-girlfriend she just so happened to be in this like 1,000-person club, and he goes up to her and says something because she was walking towards me. She's like 20 feet away, you know. And then I was like, "Yo, Mike," and he goes, "What?" Turns around, I'm like 20 feet away. I'm like, "That's my girlfriend, man." And he's like, "I was just saying hello." I'm like, "Go on ahead, Mike. That's all right." I was so unassuming though. Like he's like, he had to laugh, you know, because
Yeah.
like it was a little Jewish kid with a ponytail, like, you know,
So you were deciding if it was your life or you just gonna give her up at that point. One of the two.
I didn't care about, I didn't even care about her, but she was an ex-girlfriend. She wasn't my girlfriend. I just want to try to talk to Mike some more.
Yeah. I feel that. That's crazy. That's a good story, man.
Well, hey guys, pleasure talking to you. I really appreciate it. You guys are fun.
Indeed, man. Any accounts, any Instagrams, go ahead. The floor is yours, Mike.
Yeah. You know, I just got the website redone. So it was longshotleaders.com. But now if you go to michaelsteinmedia.com, we got three podcasts. We got the Long Shot Leaders. I got the Stein Time Show launching July 28th. We have comedians and it's more actor, oriented, with a crazy format of conversation, as opposed to like a Long Shot Leaders, we tell like someone's life story. And then at the end of the year, we have the Bollator podcast, which is the new company I'm starting. We're having outdoor adventure stories from some of the greatest outdoor influencers that are out there that have already been on Long Shot Leaders. I kind of like use Long Shot Leaders to kind of tell their stories and kind of put them in the bank for Bollator. So those are the three that you'll see if you go to michaelsteinmedia.com, and you'll see all my socials connected on there as well.
Sounds good, man. We appreciate you, man. I'm gonna let Hunter sign off, but man, very gratitude and respect and honor, man.
Thank you. Likewise.
Hey, so many gems. I appreciate Mike. That's Michael Stein, and I'm Parlay Hunter.
That's Life of D Green, man.
Hey, peace.